Self-improvement sounds like the ultimate goal. The books, the courses, the gurus, the influencers, they all repeat the same thing, that you must always be growing, always striving, always becoming a better version of yourself. It feels like the only responsible way to exist. After all, what's the alternative? Stagnation? Mediocrity? Failure? That's what we've been conditioned to believe. But what if self-improvement is a trap? What if the endless chase for a better you is not just exhausting but designed to keep you running in circles? When do you actually arrive? When do you finally become the person who is good enough? When does the cycle of setting goals, pushing harder, optimizing routines, and chasing productivity actually end? The answer is never, because it was never meant to. Self-improvement, as it's sold to us, is not about growth. It's about dissatisfaction. It thrives on the idea that who you are right now is not enough. And if you believe that, you will always be in pursuit of the next thing. A better body, a sharper mind, more money, more success, more discipline. But no matter how much you achieve, the feeling that you need more never goes away. The moment you finally reach one goal, the system presents you with another. And just like that, you're back on the treadmill, running again.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
Self-improvement isn't a personal journey, it's an industry. Think of every book, course, seminar, coaching session, and product tied to personal growth. The self-help industry is worth billions, not because it solves problems, but because it keeps people believing they have problems that need solving. If you ever woke up and realized that you were already enough, if you ever stopped running and just existed, the entire system would collapse. Because self-improvement doesn't sell growth, it sells insecurity. And the worst part, it's so effective that most people never question it. They stay locked in the cycle, convinced that the next book, the next habit, the next routine will finally make them happy. But happiness is always just out of reach. If you could just wake up earlier, if you could just read more books, if you could just meditate longer, then maybe you'd be happy. But that moment never comes, because the truth is, self-improvement doesn't lead to peace. It leads to permanent self-rejection, a constant feeling that no matter how much progress you make, you are still not enough. But what if nothing is actually wrong with you? What if the idea that you need to be constantly improving is the very thing making you feel inadequate? What if the key to being truly happy isn't doing more but wanting less? What happens when you stop chasing the next version of yourself and just accept the version that exists right now? And if self-improvement is built on insecurity, then what does that say about the way we measure success? If being better never actually ends, then how do we ever know when we've won? And more importantly, who decides what better even means? The idea of self-improvement is built on a moving goalpost. No matter how much you achieve, how disciplined you become, how optimized your routine is, there's always something more. A new book to read, a new morning habit to adopt, a new way to push yourself further. It's never enough, because it was designed to never be enough. The concept of a better you implies that the current you is flawed, incomplete, in need of fixing. And that belief keeps you chasing, grinding, always reaching but never arriving. You think you're making progress, but what if progress is just another illusion? The more you optimize your life, the more it starts feeling mechanical. Waking up at 5 a.m., drinking water with lemon, reading 10 pages a day, cutting out sugar, limiting screen time, tracking habits, journaling, meditating until your life stops being something you live and turns into something you manage. The pursuit of self-improvement becomes an obsession with control. Every action is calculated for its productivity value. Every moment is measured. Even relaxation becomes something that has to be structured and earned. Life stops being about living and becomes about optimizing every second of it. But what happens when you stop? What happens when you wake up one day and realize that no amount of discipline, structure, or high-performance mindset will ever make you feel whole? The truth is, self-improvement doesn't fix the emptiness, it feeds it. The more you chase an idealized version of yourself, the more disconnected you become from who you actually are. You start seeing your current self as a problem that needs to be solved, rather than a person that simply exists. And that's when self-improvement becomes self-destruction. It's not growth anymore, it's war. A constant battle against your own nature, your own instincts, your own humanity. You convince yourself that every flaw must be eliminated, that every inefficiency must be corrected, that every emotion must be controlled. But life doesn't work like that. You are not a system to be optimized. You are not a project with a completion date. And maybe the reason self-improvement never feels finished is because it was never supposed to be. So what if the real answer isn't becoming the best version of yourself, but accepting the version that already exists? What if the problem was never that you weren't disciplined enough, focused enough, productive enough, but that you were tricked into believing those things mattered more than simply being? What if you stopped tracking, stopped optimizing, stopped living like every moment had to be useful? What would be left? Would life finally feel lighter, or would the silence terrify you? And if the idea of stopping makes you anxious, then maybe the real question isn't whether self-improvement is good or bad. Maybe the real question is who taught you that you needed fixing in the first place. The need to constantly fix yourself is not natural. It was given to you. Society, marketing, self-help industries, they all thrive on the idea that you are incomplete, that you are not enough, that there is always something missing. The moment you believe that, you become a customer for life. You chase solutions to problems that were never problems to begin with. You buy courses, read books, follow influencers who tell you how to be more productive, more disciplined, more in control of your life. But what if the feeling of being not enough isn't something to be solved, but something that was manufactured to keep you running? The moment you stop believing you need to improve, the entire system loses its grip on you. But they can't allow that. So they move the goalpost, feeding you the idea that true happiness is always just beyond the next improvement. If you just work a little harder, fix this one flaw, wake up a little earlier, develop a better mindset, then finally you will feel complete. But you won't. Because the moment you reach that milestone, a new one appears. This is the trap. You were never meant to reach the finish line. You were meant to chase it forever. And that's why self-improvement doesn't make people happier, it makes them anxious, restless, constantly measuring their worth by progress instead of presence. Even when they achieve everything they set out to do, the feeling of satisfaction never lasts, because they've trained themselves to believe that happiness is always tied to the next goal. People don't stop and question why they need to optimize every moment of their life, why they feel guilty for resting, why they can't enjoy a hobby without turning it into something productive. They just assume that being better is the only way forward. But at what point do you give yourself permission to just exist? At what point do you stop becoming and start being? Maybe the answer is terrifying because it means letting go. It means stepping out of the cycle, refusing to measure your worth by self-improvement. It means realizing that you were never broken to begin with. That all the routines, the habits, the optimization, they were never about making you better. They were about keeping you trapped in a system that profits from your dissatisfaction. And the second you see that, really see it, everything changes. You stop treating your life like a project. Stop chasing a version of yourself that doesn't exist. Stop thinking that peace is something you have to earn. Maybe the biggest act of rebellion in a world that constantly tells you to improve is to simply say, I am enough, right now, as I am. Because the moment you truly believe that, the game is over, and the system that was designed to keep you running, it collapses. But the system doesn't want to collapse, so it adapts. It finds new ways to keep you running, new words to keep you chasing. It tells you self-acceptance is good, but only if it's earned. Only if you meditate enough, heal enough, work on yourself enough. Even stillness becomes something to achieve, something to optimize. It's no longer enough to simply be at peace, you have to be great at being at peace. And suddenly, self-improvement has disguised itself again, repackaged in the language of wellness, mindfulness, and self-love, but still built on the same foundation of never being enough as you are. They sell you the idea that real fulfillment comes from balance, from being enlightened, from mastering your emotions. But do you see the trick? You're still chasing. You're still trying to become something instead of just being. And that's the real myth of self-improvement. It never actually lets you arrive. So what happens if you stop? If you let go of the need to optimize everything, if you reject the idea that your worth is tied to growth? What's left? Maybe that's the fear, the silence, the stillness, the unknown. A world where you don't have a goal to chase, a version of yourself to improve. A world where waking up is just waking up, not a chance to win the day. A world where rest isn't earned, where success isn't proof of your value, where you don't need to constantly be better to be worthy of happiness. And maybe that's the real reason people stay trapped in self-improvement, because stopping feels like failure. We've been taught that movement is life, that standing still is falling behind, that we always need to be working towards something. But where are we actually going? If we spend our entire lives trying to be better, at what point do we allow ourselves to be enough? Maybe the truth is the thing we've been running from all along. Maybe there is no better version of you. Maybe there is only you, right now, in this moment. And maybe that's enough. Not because you've done anything to deserve it, not because you've meditated or journaled or built the perfect routine, but simply because you exist. Maybe the real freedom isn't found in becoming more, it's found in no longer needing to. And if that feels impossible, if the thought of stopping makes you restless, then maybe the problem was never you. Maybe it was the belief that you had to chase something in the first place. But stopping isn't easy because the world is built to keep you moving. Everything around you pushes the idea that stillness is wasteful, that time must always be used wisely, that there is no value in just being. The second you stop trying to improve, there's a voice in your head, sometimes your own, sometimes society's, telling you that you're falling behind, that you're not doing enough, that someone else out there is working harder while you're standing still. And so the cycle pulls you back in. You download another self-help book, start another routine, convince yourself that this time, this system, this method will finally make you feel complete. But it never does, because the problem was never your lack of progress, it was the belief that progress was the point. The people who benefit from this mindset are the ones who profit from your dissatisfaction. Companies, influencers, industries built around self-improvement, they don't want you to feel at peace. They want you to feel like peace is just one step away, just one more habit, just one more breakthrough. They give you just enough hope to keep you going, but never enough to let you stop. Even when you think you've figured it out, they find a new way to make you feel like you haven't. The cycle doesn't end because it isn't designed to end. If you ever truly felt content, if you ever really believed you were enough, what would happen to all the systems that depend on you striving for more? They would collapse, and that's why they work so hard to convince you that stopping is dangerous. That if you stop improving, you'll fail, you'll become irrelevant, you'll waste your potential. But who decided what failure even means? Who decided what success should look like? And if those ideas weren't yours to begin with, then what are you really chasing? Maybe that's the real trap, not just the endless pursuit of self-improvement, but the belief that you have to chase anything at all. Maybe nothing is missing. Maybe there is no next level, no final form, no best version of yourself waiting in the future. Maybe this is it, and maybe that's okay. Maybe you don't need a plan, a goal, a structured path towards something better. Maybe you just need to live not efficiently, not intentionally, not in pursuit of optimization, but just live. Because if you can't be happy without the chase, you won't be happy once you reach the finish line either. And maybe the biggest secret, the thing they don't want you to realize, is that the moment you stop searching for more is the moment you finally have enough. But stopping feels unnatural because we've been wired to measure life by progress. The moment we aren't striving for something, it feels like we're losing, like we're wasting time, like we're falling behind some invisible race that no one really understands, but everyone keeps running. The fear isn't that we won't achieve something great. The fear is that if we stop, we'll have to face the fact that greatness was never the answer to begin with. That no achievement, no transformation, no version of ourselves will ever make us feel whole, because the idea of wholeness was just another illusion sold to keep us moving. We chase self-improvement because it distracts us from the discomfort of just existing. The silence, the stillness, the realization that maybe life isn't supposed to be a constant upgrade. Maybe we were never meant to be projects. Maybe the need to improve isn't an instinct, it's a script. One we never wrote. But if that's true, then what happens if we reject the script? If we stop treating life like something that has to be won? If we stop treating ourselves like machines that need better efficiency, better output, better performance? What happens when we strip away all the habits, the routines, the endless tracking of progress, and just let ourselves be? Maybe that's the scariest part, because it means letting go of the identity we've built around self-improvement. The idea that we are always in progress is comforting. It makes us feel like we're going somewhere, like our struggles are leading to something bigger, like there's a future version of us that will finally be worthy of rest, of peace, of happiness. But what if there's nothing to arrive at? What if this is all there is? What if there's no final version, no perfect self waiting at the end of the road? What if the only thing waiting for us is the life we've been too busy improving to actually live? Maybe the real myth of self-improvement is that it's needed at all. Maybe nothing about you is broken. Maybe you don't need fixing, you don't need optimizing, you don't need to turn every moment into something productive or meaningful. Maybe life isn't about getting somewhere, it's about being here. And if that feels like a waste, if that idea makes you restless, maybe it's not because you need to improve. Maybe it's because you've been trained to believe that existing isn't enough. But it is. And maybe the second you stop chasing something better, you realize you were never missing anything in the first place.